Good Magic, the winner of the Haskell today on podcast afternoon, and he was very convincing. In this race, the speed did not develop any more than it was supposed to in the Belmont against Justify with Noble Indy. And in this race, the speed didn't really get out there on the first. I guess they weren't interested in running, even though there was $1 million purse. Maybe some horses, money isn't everything. But they didn't get out there, and Good Magic, who was going to be forwardly placed on some level anyway, was able to inherit the second spot. And instead of getting in the kind of duel that he got in with Justify, or feeling more comfortable in the fact that Godzilla wasn't there, he was able to move into the second slot and not really, force himself to get into a pace set scenario, a pace battle, or not really just suddenly take the lead in the race and dare anyone to catch him. He sat there, he relaxed very, very nicely, and then he made his Good Magic move. And as I said before, all these Curlins, he, like Tenfold and Vino Rosso's by Curlin, the key is that, are they going to perform like their sire at some level? Are they going to get to the Curlin level or somewhere in thereabouts? And so with Good Magic is the another $64 question is he going to be good and is he going to be magic? And today he ran with a little bit of that magic, not something of the constellations, not something of that freaky Holy Bull, Ghost Zapper, Street Sense, Fusaichi Pegasus. He didn't run that kind of silver charm kind of race, but he ran a very workmanlike time, the time 150.10, a little tick of a bit, faster than Hofberg, but nothing to really, nothing that tantalizes and tingles the spine. These times have been holding court all year long. Earlier in the year, there were a lot of journalists out there, casual observers, nuance fans, that felt that the times were a little slow, the buyers might not be, spectacular. And my belief was, and I think a lot of people believe, that horses, 3-year-olds, get better as the year goes along. But right now, everyone's holding court. Nothing has really changed. It's almost like these 3-year-olds are spinning their wheels. It could be excused that Good Magic hasn't run since the Preakness Stakes and his almost match race for the large majority of the Preakness, the middle jewel of the Triple Crown, against Justify. So he runs a little bit better time. I can't say that Good Magic needs to improve. Collectively, when you look at these 150 times, there's an opportunity for another horse to jump up and run that monster race the way that Arrogate did, the way that West Coast came in. Bob Baffert has been the, basically the perpetrator of those crimes the last 2 years. Does he have something in reserve? Obviously, right now, it looks like Mc Kinzie, who he announced is on the comeback trail, that he looks fantastic. The horse that was supposed to run in the Santa Anita Derby after winning the Sham, winning the San Felipe, disqualified against Bolt d'Oro, was going to be one of the favorites. Justify was supposed to run in the Arkansas Derby against another unraced 2-year-old that was coming to hand in Magnum Moon. That's where he was supposed to go until he came in and took Mc Kinzie's place upon injury, which took Mc Kinzie, the son of Street Sense, off the Triple Crown Trail, the classic trail, and began what Michael Vrona described as he approached the wire when, smoking Bolt d'Oro, his dizzying ascension into greatness. So Mc Kinzie is a horse that I believe is better than all these horses. But again, you can't go on his previous form. It gives us clues, but right now, given the layoff, you cannot go on his previous form any more than people can, judge or talk about justifying what his potential is, knowing he's a retired racehorse. Now you have to judge him on what he's going to do as a stallion and how his progeny and his offspring perform. Same thing with American Pharaoh, whose progeny and offspring have been, a very huge point of interest in the sales this spring and summer, and certainly will basically be at the top of the headlines during the fall as well and into the winter, because his first group of foals have been coming out and they've been doing very well. But the question will be how they will do once the saddle and the tack's put on them, and horse and rider are supposed to be married as one. So we'll have to wait and see. But Mc Kinzie is very, very interesting. This goes to my question. After these preps, in which you can obviously point to the favorites, but certainly not point to the superstar, it's wide open. Good Magic is the favorite, no question. But in my box here, Bob Baffert, does he have a contender? Does anyone have a contender that can trump these horses? The door is open for not only these 3-year-olds to jump up and emerge, but for someone else to come in and trump all of what's been done in these preps. Not going to be an easy thing. Gronkowski, who comes out of the Chad Brown barn, stablemate of Good Magic, he's been on a layoff. He's had another setback similar to the one that he had when he had the infection that took him out of the Kentucky Derby after being the winner or the champion of the most points for the Road to the Derby from Europe. he was, the top, rated horse there with the most points. And of course, Mendelssohn got off the trail. He won one of those races, but won the UAE Derby, which was an 100-point race. And it's interesting as to where Gronkowski's going to go. I think the Travers is probably a little less likely than not. Coming in off of works the way that Tappert did the previous year, 2017, coming into after winning the Belmont, into the Midsummer Derby off of just works is that's a tall order. So I think for Gronkowski, the same would apply. He's had a setback since then. He's probably, Chad Brown, we'll find out more about how he's doing. But I think making the Travers would be pushing it a little bit. Going a mile and an eighth in the Pennsylvania Derby may still be tough, but that might be more reachable. I see him as being a Jockey Club Gold Cup horse and also one in the future that will dabble in the turf. But Gronkowski's sort of on the outside looking in. Mc Kinsie's probably not going to make it there. That's what's making the Pennsylvania Derby. If Bob Baffert, is filling his Glock and he's got his holster, ready to sling, the gunsling, that's where we're going to see Mc Kinzie, unless he does what I think could have happened with Justify had he not been retired, is find a conditions race, either at Del Mar or at Santa Anita Oak Tree, and put a plan in place. And that's another $64 question with Mc Kinzie as well as the whole group, and particularly with the son of Street Sense, is Bob Baffert going to put together a plan, an accelerated, comprehensive plan in laser-light fashion that mirrors what happened in the first half of the year when putting together the 112 days from maiden to legend, that became Justified. Can he put together a plan similar to that 112 days of ascension to stardom? And that's going to be one of the more interesting things going on, in addition to sorting out in your mind who the favorite is.